Welcome back to another video installment of eCIO features and functionality. This video is on working with frameworks and how eCIO is compatible to working with those. Part of the benefits to doing this is we're going to show how eCIO operates in conjunction with other frameworks. In this case, our focus is on PMI. Because eCIO is a little bit more dynamic in nature versus static, that is, it's not .doc or Excel spreadsheets, it actually kind of blends in. It provides a little bit more value to being able to work with some of these other frameworks. So we're going to show you a little bit about how that all evolves. So we are now at our entry screen. We've added a couple of things here. So we're back here at our entry screen. We've gone through our security and like within it. So there's a couple of things that have been added since some of our earlier videos. One is a framework button here, which will bring up the menu. We'll show you how that goes, as well as you'll see another aspect on dashboards, which is over here, and that's a separate video. So proceeding on, we're going to click on our framework buttons, and let's say we're doing a little bit of discovery. So here's a list of frameworks that in fact are tied into the product. Each of those will be separated, and there may be future videos on each of these. The one we're talking about is the PMI framework. So within the PMI framework, what we have is a number of KPAs, key process areas, and running through some of the ones that we've got identified here is project planning, and you'll see underneath of it some of the topics that we're going to expand about shortly afterwards on this one. So we've got project planning, we've got scheduling, cost management, project execution, which includes change management, issues, progress, project closure, quality management, human resources, stakeholder communications, risk management, procurement, portfolio management, program management, business analysis, and software development. So we're going to go back to showing what is comprised in each of these areas. I'm going to use the example of scope planning. So if we click on scope planning, what we have is a number of key areas under that one that we're reporting on. They include reports, functions, work instructions, configuration items, some examples, and knowledge base. And we're going to look at reports right now. So these are a list of the reports that are some of the ones that we've got identified under for scope planning. And we'll go into, so this is a summary screen, so it goes on to listing some of the other reports, requirements, scope statement, plan, WBS, assignment view, etc. on that side of it. So if we're going to go back, we're going to do project charter. Okay, so what is a project charter? So anytime you see a raised button, that usually indicates that we can bring up a piece of information on that particular item. So we're going to double click on that. And so this is an overview on what a project charter is about. And within the project charter, so there's some demographics we're collecting, the examples. We've got some narrative on what the charter is about. There's also a section here on experts that are tied into this. If you wanted to know a little bit more about project charters. So what would normally happen, this is all the list of kind of groups and people, etc. And so if there's groups of people that know about it, we have identified, or individuals specifically, as in this case we've got David Niles, plus we have Scott Denson as two notable experts on this particular item. Okay, if we go through we have our profile. If we wanted to see an example, kind of a generic example on it, if we double click on the example here that's stored in our artifacts library, Microsoft Access comes up with some security notices as noted. We will skip those. And so this is an example of a project charter. It's for store openings. We got some basic demographics, so it's collecting a number of information, description, comments. We show a little bit about the scope on this, some of the goals, objectives that we're trying that this particular charter is involved in. This is a cursory example. So some of the risks that are associated, configuration items that are impacted in terms of this particular store openings charter, roles that we have identified of people participating, that would be project roles, etc. on that side of it, deliverables that expected, some tasks and activities, the gates, the applications that are affected by it, some of the issues, the FTE allocations over the time frames, and then we have stakeholders, some areas that we need to flush out, stakeholders, functions affected, services, if there's related organizations, etc. Any major action items we had in there, and then metrics that we're going to measure the project by. So we'll reduce that. So that's the demographics. Also, when we do bring up, we want to know more about this particular item, then obviously we can tie into action items, configuration items, functions, knowledge, roles, responsibilities. So that would be tied into what a charter is about, not the actual charter, but what a charter in terms of a artifact or an instrument is about. And then we have obviously through our the instruments, we have the profile, etc. on that side of it. So we will get rid of that. We will close this. And also, if you wanted to go directly into an example of the charter, then you can just click over here on the example provided. So within each of these groups, we have functions. So within functions, the same thing applies. You double click on it, it brings up what that function is about. We do have the mini menu tied into all the aspects of what a function is, some of the demographics, the narrative on that. If there's work instructions, so this is the standard work instructions for doing scope planning. So we prepare a charter, we obtain approval, define the project scope, etc. So if we went into this particular work instruction, then from here we tie into what's related to project management, and then so here's some of the demographics associated with that particular work instruction. Let's say configuration items, again this is related back to scope planning, requirements profile, bring up that. So these are the demographics surrounding the profile regarding a configuration item, narratives, owners, etc. on that side of it. If we wanted to go into what that configuration item is an example of, then we can just double click on that, and that would be the same as what we brought up before. There's also a way that we can tie into other examples of this. So we have the generic, if we wanted to tie in some other elements, as in this case for scope planning, here's some of the other artifacts. In this case it was a reference to Yardi financial systems, etc. on that side of it, so we can tie in that. And then if there was other items, and we'll need to flush this out, that in terms of the knowledge base and adding in items for scope planning, we can add those in part of our knowledge base and provide some more background in each of that. So that concludes this presentation on using eCIO and frameworks. So we used here as an example PMI, but it does apply to ITIL and our ITSM, our TOGAF, APQC, which is really a process improvement framework, some of the other items, security, said BA, which is your business analyst framework on through some of that CMM, etc. on that side of it. So hope you enjoyed this. For more information, please feel free to go to our website, www.eciosolutions.com, and pick up a copy of eCIO. Thank you very much.